In the news, Moscow waits for an answer from Saddam Hussein on its plan for peace. Meantime, Allied troops in Saudi Arabia wait for the skies to clear.
This is NBC News at sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Margaret Larson. This is another day of waiting in Moscow as Iraq weighs its response to the Soviet plan for peace in the Gulf. The Allies have made it clear they won't wait much longer. Iraq's foreign minister was expected in the Soviet capital yesterday, but he didn't show. Now, Baghdad radio is saying he'll get there sometime tonight. Soviet officials are hopeful, but as NBC's Ike Siemens reports, officials there aren't holding their breath.
While Soviet Foreign Minister Alexander Besmertnik was leaving Moscow for a meeting in Spain, the Iraqi Foreign Minister Tariq Aziz will be coming here to let the Soviets know whether Baghdad accepts or rejects the Soviet peace plan. This morning in Moscow, Central Committee consultant Nikolai Shishlin said the Iraqis really have no choice.
That's the last chance for Baghdad. If Baghdad rejects our peace plan, then the Allied forces will act.
Foreign Ministry spokesman Vitaly Churkin insists the Gorbachev peace proposal is the best option for Iraq.
President Gorbachev's plan is certainly intended to create a situation where we might limit the bloodshed and achieve the goals of the UN Security Council resolutions and end the hostilities as soon as possible.
The Soviets are expecting a positive response from the Iraqis. As one Soviet official puts it, why else would the foreign minister be coming back here? Ike Siemens, NBC News, Moscow.
The waiting game is tough on the Allied troops on the front lines. If it's going to take a fight to get Iraq out of Kuwait, a lot of soldiers there say they'd like to get it over with and get home. For the moment, they are stalled by both the dark clouds on the diplomatic front and over the battlefield. NBC's James Polk is at the Pentagon this morning with more. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Margaret. It may be bad weather, not goodwill, but bad weather that is holding back a land attack. Dark clouds rolling in over Kuwait for another night. It has rained more in the desert in this past month of war than any time in memory. Sand turned to muck, making it hard to move. Overcast skies hiding bomb targets, buying time to talk peace. At a White House dinner for Denmark, President Bush held firm.
Our mission is just, and we are going to prevail, and your forces and ours will guarantee that the torch of freedom will illuminate Kuwait.
The military says a land war will not be a walkover.
It's not going to be a snap. And I think the American people do understand, as a matter of fact, that if we get the word to go on the ground, that war's a bloody thing and we're going to take casualties, and I think that there will be a high degree of professionalism shown by the coalition forces, but it's going to be painful.
The French say Baghdad has until tonight to say whether it wants peace, and in the Middle East, nightfall is just hours away, Margaret.
Thank you, Jim. The National Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta will continue hearing testimony today as it considers a policy on health care workers with AIDS. CDC researchers estimate between 13 and 128 Americans have been infected with the AIDS virus by their surgeons or dentists. Opinion is sharply divided on what steps are needed, if any, to protect patients.
We must do everything possible to protect even that one patient that might be infected as a consequence of contact with a positive physician.
I think they're being premature, and I think they're reacting hysterically, and I think they're facing incredible potential discriminatory possibilities.
The government has not yet adopted a policy, but the American Medical and Dental Associations have. They recommend that members who know they are infected either tell their patients or stop performing procedures in which blood can be exchanged. Environmentalists are taking aim at the president's national energy plan released yesterday. David Garcia of KNBC-TV reports critics claim that plan ignores resource conservation and fuel efficiency.
Balancing the need for energy and keeping the environment clean. President Bush says that's precisely the goal of his new energy policy.
Our national energy strategy strikes a sound and reasonable balance, and it will achieve greater energy security without unduly burdening the consumers or the economy.
Environmental groups don't buy it.
The only way not to be dependent on foreign oil is to not be dependent on oil.
The president's plan calls for new offshore drilling on the east as well as the west coast.
It will help us to find more reliable sources of energy through uncompromisingly safe and environmentally sound development.
Quite frankly, the president's energy plan is a scud into the heart of America's environment.
We want to build an energy future that's based on a range of diverse sources, so that never again will this nation's energy well-being be swayed by events in any single foreign country.
David Garcia for NBC News, Los Angeles.
Composer Quincy Jones became the second top Grammy winner in history last night, taking 6 trophies for his album Back on the Block. Jones has been nominated 76 times and won 25 Grammys in his career, including this year's Album of the Year. Phil Collins won the Grammy for the Record of the Year for Another Day in Paradise, and 20-year-old Mariah Carey was named Best New Artist. When we come back, we'll get a market report and a first check of the weather after this.
Okay, you're trying to decide between the Jeep Cherokee and the Isuzu Trooper. Let's weigh the facts, shall we? The Isuzu Trooper comes standard with 4-wheel disc brakes and triple skid plates, more cargo space, a larger fuel tank, and more headroom. Oh, and one more thing. The Isuzu Trooper costs about $1,000 less.
The Isuzu Trooper, at just $13,699. There's no comparison.
What is it that makes the world so great? Is it the beauty we see everywhere we go? It is. But probably what really makes the world so great is people. We think the same way about our airline, United. Come see what dedication is all about. Come fly the friendly skies.
Stocks turned in their second daily decline in a row yesterday. The Dow Jones Industrials dropped more than 33 points. So, looking ahead to today's market day, here is the Wall Street Journal's Randall Smith. Good morning, Randall.
Morning, Margaret.
We've had this big rally and then a week or so of fairly flat numbers coming out of the market. What's happening?
We're taking a rest, essentially. We had a 400-point rally since the war began, and now seven trading days, and we're really just under 2,900. You know, we could be vulnerable for a drop here.
It's a little harder to forecast right now because the news was so mixed yesterday.
Well, exactly. We had a higher than expected inflation number. That hurt the bond market, and that was chiefly responsible for the 33-point decline. We also had Alan Greenspan saying that doesn't see any need to cut interest rates further right now, so that also hurt.
Well, you mentioned a correction. Most advisors are very bullish right now. Is that correction enough to make the average investor step back for a moment?
Well, possibly. One thing that could affect the market negatively is if oil prices go back up when the ground war starts. The rally really began when oil prices went down $10 a barrel.
So we'll watch it then. Thank you, Randall. Time to check with weather, and Joe Whitting. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Margaret. Good, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Well, it still seems like springtime over much of the country. First, let's go to the Mideast and do a check. You can see on the time-lapse action the thunderstorms that developed very quickly over southern Iraq and moved over Kuwait and is now moving towards Iran and quickly out of the way. More clouds moving in today from the west, however, for late today. Now, on today's weather map for the U.S. of A., we have those persistent rains down along the Gulf states. More flooding problems there. The rest of the country, mostly high and dry. A few light snowflakes around the western Great Lakes. Temperatures relatively mild for this time of year. That is the national weather. Now here's what's happening in your neighborhood. We'll see Denver going up to 62 degrees. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 44 degrees. Chicago, relatively mild at 52. 82 degrees at Miami, Florida. Nice and sunny at the beach in Florida. And in just a few minutes, a look at what's going to happen on Saturday. Margaret?
We'll see you then. Thanks, Joe. Coming up, a big trade in pro basketball. The Clippers send Benoit Benjamin to Seattle. Sports is next after this.
Even in the world of convertibles, rarely has one button done so much. Suddenly, you're sitting in the lap of luxury in the new Infiniti M30 convertible. Your foot is on the accelerator of the 3-liter V6 engine, and your head is in the clouds. The new M30 convertible from Infiniti.
More and more people are waking up to Juan Valdez and his 100% Colombian coffee. And so can you.
Buenos días.
Just look for Juan on the label. 100% Colombian coffee.
When it's late and your productivity is falling off, you can splash a little water on your face, or better yet, revive with Vivarin. Government-appointed experts say it works. And all you need is 1 glass of water. So revive with Vivarin.
We've been friends since 2nd or 3rd grade, and my mother always said to me, "Why don't you keep your hair looking like Wilda's?" And I said, well, if I didn't have anything to do but tweedle on that violin, maybe I could keep my hair right, and I'm out playing tennis, standing on my head.
All your life, you've known what you wanted from retirement. Richland Place.
When we get together, it's just as if all the years melt away.
Hey, coming up March 2nd and 3rd for 20 hours straight, this station's going to sock you the old 1-2 with 21 singers, 32 dancers, 14 funny men, 8 novelty acts.
No, that's 2 magic acts, 3 juggling acts, 6 acrobats, 1 animal act.
0 animal acts. Cut the poodle. Right, 17 movie stars, 27 television stars, 14 music stars, 400 local stars, only on the 1991 Easter Seal Telethon.
One more time, Dad.
17 movie stars.
Watch the 1991 Easter Seals Telethon, Saturday, March 2nd, beginning at 10:30 on Channel 4.
Dozens of aftershocks, but no damage reported in the aftermath of a powerful earthquake off the Alaskan coast last night. That quake, centered in the Bering Sea west of Alaska, measured 6.8 on the Richter scale. In sports, the NBA trading deadline is just hours away, and 2 teams have already beaten the clock. Last night, the Los Angeles Clippers sent center Benoit Benjamin to Seattle for Olden Polynice and 2 first-round draft picks. Meanwhile, it was business as usual for Benjamin's former team. The Clippers lost again, this time to Phoenix, 113-93. Golden State's Tim Hardaway hit a desperation 3-pointer with 3 seconds left to give the Warriors a 108-105 win at Minnesota. Elsewhere, Indiana beat Orlando in overtime. Detroit downed Atlanta, and Cleveland defeated Sacramento. In a Big East shootout, 5th-ranked Syracuse was beaten by St. John's. The 18th-ranked Redmen reeled off the game's first 15 points and held on for a 77-72 win. In a Southeastern Conference upset, it was Vanderbilt over 12th-ranked Kentucky. Rick Pitino wasn't pleased with the officiating in his team's 98-87 loss. Ohio State is now 23-1. Arkansas is now 26-2. Duke defeated North Carolina State, and Kansas lost to Colorado. Wayne Gretzky broke out of a mini-slump last night. The NHL's leading scorer, held to just an empty net goal in his previous 8 games, scored his 34th of the season to lead Los Angeles to a 6-1 win over Quebec. And in baseball news, Jim Palmer may be one step closer to making his comeback dream come true. The 45-year-old Hall of Famer has been invited to spring training by his former team, the Baltimore Orioles. Palmer is expected to decide today if he's going to accept the invitation. That's sports. The news continues in just a moment. You're watching NBC News at sunrise.
Bank failures, higher taxes, unemployment, soaring prices, hard times. We'll show you how to survive on a special edition of Today, later this morning.
Channel 4's Classroom Champion salutes Christian Bodorf, a sophomore at Good Pasture Christian High School. Christian found that with a positive attitude and a lot of hard work, his grades skyrocketed in less than 1 year. For Christian, the dream of a straight-A semester has become a reality. Congratulations, Christian. You're a Channel 4 Classroom Champion. Baptist Hospital is a proud sponsor of Channel 4's Classroom Champions.
On the next Oprah, hundreds of doctors and dentists have AIDS. Is yours one of them?
Here are some of the stories we're following this Thursday morning on NBC News at sunrise. Iraq's verdict on the Kremlin peace plan heads for Moscow. Desert Storm braces for ground action, and some big changes appear to be in store for the country of Albania. Details just ahead. Perhaps no one is immune to the stress of war, but very few are as vulnerable as little children who see tanks and planes and soldiers on television, and sometimes in their minds. NBC's Ann Rubenstein takes another look now at how young eyes see the war.
Kara is only 9.
My feelings about the war is scared. I don't know exactly why, I'm just scared.
This is group therapy for children at the National Childhood Grief Institute in Minneapolis. They are troubled by Desert Storm. Because war is abstract to children, their imaginations can go wild.
They will often fantasize in their mind, and the fantasy can be a lot worse for a child than the reality of the situation.
It is alarming what some of them dream.
Then I looked out the window and Saddam and these people were driving up our driveway in army tanks. So I went downstairs to tell my mom and dad, and it turned out that they were dead.
Rachel is 9.
I went on a ride with my unicorn, and all of a sudden Saddam Hussein shot him down, and he shot me.
What we need to do is put the war into context for our children. We need to interpret for them. Kuwait is a 24-hour plane ride from Minneapolis.
The Institute developed a workbook of exercises to help children work through fears and feelings.
How would you finish this war?
Kara draws a handshake. She is encouraged to focus on the war and to question.
Why don't we just shoot Saddam? Because he's the one who's causing all the trouble.
Even when there are no simple answers.
Why do they have wars when nobody wins?
Ann Rubenstein, NBC News, Minneapolis.
The child's question, why do they have wars, is also on the lips of many parents, especially those whose own children are on the front lines. NBC's Roger O'Neill has their story.
It's a special gift for their son and a few other troops. But the soldiers may never see the homemade packages of love if the ground war starts. Derek Hartsfield is on the front with an artillery unit. His mother, Shirley, says his package is not to be opened, but the message on it read and held close to the heart.
Whenever you are lonely or even feeling blue, you only have to hold this gift and know I think of you.
These parents know their son will come under enemy fire when President Bush gives the order to begin the ground war.
The mother in me says, I really don't care, just bring our troops back home, including our son. But the patriotic instinct in me is behind President Bush.
The parents say that's the way their son feels too. He told them that in a surprise phone call just 2 days ago. Shirley says they talked to their son for more than an hour. The subject of a ground war was never mentioned.
As a mother, I think Derek, since he didn't talk about going to start fighting, I think Derek was trying to just leave us on a happy keel. And not let us worry, because that's Derek.
Derek said he planned to take a shower, his first in a month, and then go right back to the front lines, ready to fight. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Aurora, Colorado.
We'll have more news. The Wall Street Journal's Alan Murray on business and Joe Whitty's weather when we return. Topping our news this morning, Moscow waits for an answer on its Gulf peace plan. Iraq's Foreign Minister Tariq Aziz is expected back in Moscow shortly with Saddam Hussein's reply to the Kremlin's plan for peace in the Persian Gulf. President Bush has reportedly urged Mikhail Gorbachev to modify the plan, among other things, putting a deadline on the Iraqi pullout from Kuwait. For the people of Baghdad, it is a long wait for peace with no clear indication of what Iraq's leader has had to say about Moscow's peace plan. NBC's Tom Aspel has more from Baghdad.
Iraqis are waiting.
They know the Allied forces are poised to launch a ground offensive, while at the same time the leadership here is seriously considering the Soviet peace proposal. There have been no air raids in the last 24 hours, almost as if there are very few targets left to bomb here now. The Iraqis say the infrastructure of this country has been destroyed, and many of them believe civilian areas have been deliberately attacked in an effort to turn the people against the government. As in most wars, it's the civilians who suffer most. There is still food in the markets here, but it's expensive, and there is no fuel, and it's cold here at night. The Allied blockade means medicines are almost impossible to find. Hospitals will only admit the most urgent cases now. There's no electricity in the city and no running water, and many fear epidemics of cholera or typhoid. The hardest thing is the waiting, but the Iraqis say they are prepared for peace or for war. Tom Asbel, NBC News, Baghdad.
The signs are clearer than ever that the borderline between Iraq and Saudi Arabia will soon turn into a battle line. Deborah Roberts is with us now from Saudi Arabia. Good morning, Deborah.
Good morning, Margaret. While the world awaits Saddam Hussein's reaction to the Soviet proposed peace plan, combat troops in the desert are slowly forcing their way to the front lines of battle. U.S. Marines plow their way into Iraqi territory, the closest they've been yet to enemy forces.
Sometimes you're nervous, and like I say, sometimes you're excited. You don't know until, you spot something.
While these troops search for strengths and weaknesses across the border, they also inflict psychological warfare. They blast Arabic messages to Iraqi soldiers, urging them to give themselves up to armed Allied forces. It is a tense time in the desert.
We're not letting our guard down. We're preparing for the worst and hoping for the best.
But there's more than hope at work here. These Marines clear paths leading into Kuwait, preparing for a swift passageway for tanks and troops when the ground assault begins. While the troops await the final word on the ground attack, the air assaults against the Iraqi Republican Guard continue. Margaret?
Thank you, Deborah. The Chilean Air Force is investigating yesterday's plane crash that killed at least 19 people, most of them Americans. The plane apparently overshot a runway in a town on the extreme southern tip of Chile and then crashed into the frigid waters of Beagle's Channel. There were 72 people on board, including the crew. Most were U.S. tourists en route to Antarctica. 17 people were injured. Officials say they have no idea what went wrong. The president of Albania has agreed to form a new government and hold free elections next month. Those are big changes in that Eastern Bloc country. They have been rocked already by massive anti-communist demonstrations that even police officers have joined. Students have been tearing down statues of a longtime dictator. For 46 years, Albania has been isolated by its hardline rulers. Its Stalinist-style regime is the last holdout of communism in Eastern Europe. When we return, the Wall Street Journal's Alan Murray on the Fed and interest rates, and Joe Whitty with a look at the weekend weather.
You got kids? You've got germs.
Hold it.
You definitely need Liquid Dial. It has a special germ-killing formula other liquid soaps don't. And it's hardly worth getting soap on your hands if you're not killing germs. Liquid Dial. Kill the germs. Keep the kids.
Philly Light. Low cholesterol, less fat. And it isn't just light, it's Philly Light.
Yeah. Let's eat.
Now that's how to eat light.
They say the one on top has all the power. Which could be why more truck owners switched to Chevy last year than to any other truck. The top standard horsepower and the top available horsepower. Our 454 SS helped make Chevrolet America's favorite half-ton pickup. For power at the top, more people are winning with
The heartbeat of America. Today's truck is Chevrolet. when work's much more than 9 to 5. City to city, take off, arrive, relax, renew, restore, revive. Remember Ramada.
For business travel, remember Ramada, because at over 500 Ramadas nationwide, there's a place to meet in, rooms with space to work in, and somewhere to relax, all at a very affordable price. Ramada, the way it should be.
Stay with us just once and you'll always remember Ramada.
For reservations, call 1-800-2-RAMADA.
This morning's business report is brought to you by Ramada Hotels and Inns.
Federal Reserve Board Chairman Alan Greenspan discussed monetary policy and the state of the economy in his semi-annual appearance before the Senate Banking Committee yesterday. The Wall Street Journal's Alan Murray was there, and he's in our Washington newsroom now, as he is each Thursday morning. Good morning, Alan.
Good morning, Margaret.
What did Alan Greenspan have to say about where interest rates are heading?
Well, Margaret, Mr. Greenspan was even more evasive than usual, but if you read between the lines, and if you talk to other Fed officials, the impression is that monetary policy right now is on hold. Mr. Greenspan claims to see signs that the recession may be bottoming out, that the economy may pick up in the coming weeks, and as a result, it may not be necessary for the Fed to cut interest rates again.
Well, the policy may be on hold, but there are still a lot of concerns about a credit crunch, right?
Oh, that's right, and Mr. Greenspan said that the credit crunch is still very much a problem, but what the Fed is trying to do is address the credit crunch with measures other than cutting interest rates. For instance, the Fed chairman said yesterday that he would encourage banks to borrow more freely from the Federal Reserve. That's something that might prod them to lend more. The Fed's also working with the Treasury on a package of measures to ease regulatory pressures on banks in order to encourage them to lend more.
Meantime, no matter what the Fed is doing, the Bank of America is cutting its prime rate for the second time this month. Are they likely to lead the others?
Well, Margaret, the banks have been very stingy throughout this recession about lowering their interest rates. They've been trying to shore up their profits rather than pass lower rates on to consumers. So there's still some room for the banks to cut their lending rates, even if the Fed doesn't ease again.
Well, Greenspan has been very clear that he believes the recession is short and shallow, that it's bottoming out, we're making a recovery, and a lot of people are hoping he's right, banking on it. In fact, what do you think?
Well, I think the fate of the economy is still very much tied to the fate of the Persian Gulf War. This war's had a very strange effect on people. Whether out of fear or out of patriotism, they're not traveling, they're not going on vacations, they're not buying cars, they're not spending money. If the war gets wrapped up in a couple of weeks, as the White House hopes, those things could turn around.
Alan Murray, thank you. Time to check with Joe for the weekend weather. Joe?
Thank you, Margaret. Satellite photograph shows a lot of clouds still hanging over Louisiana, and that's going to provide some weather delays. Again, places like New Orleans. And because of that stream of flow, we're going to find it very soaking wet down there, flooding. A lot of solar energy in the midsection of the country, some scattered showers for travelers in the Pacific Northwest. And if you're coming to the Northeast, things will be drying out a little bit and cooling down just a touch. And travelers will find, again, mostly fair skies for California. Looks like Saturday may bring some rain for parts of California. Update tomorrow. Margaret?
Thank you, Joe. Here again are the latest developments in the war in the Persian Gulf. The long wait continues for Iraq's response to the Soviet peace plan. Soviet officials are hoping to hear from Iraq's foreign minister sometime tonight. On the battlefront, U.S. attack helicopters blasted Iraqi radar systems and anti-aircraft units along the Saudi border during the night. That's NBC News at Sunrise this Thursday morning. I'm Margaret Larson. We'll see you tomorrow.
As Allied troops move to the front, how close are we to an all-out ground war? Tom Brokaw reports live from Saudi Arabia with Jane Pauley in New York. This week on NBC Nightly News.
My friend Jenny's real sick. Her mommy and daddy took her away to the big hospital. And they're staying at Ronald McDonald's house. Other families are staying there too. I guess being together is what makes Ronald McDonald House so special. You know, special.